Good morning to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion for the 11th of August, 2015. I want to start off by looking at sea surface temperature anomalies. Pretty amazing what's going on in the Pacific Ocean. Look at all of this real estate that is well above the long-term average here. Most of the eastern North Pacific well above where it should be for this time of year. The El Nino also sticking in along the equatorial region. And it's really remarkable. I mean, wow, that's really, really warm compared to where it should be, and not just here in what we call the Nino regions. This whole area, just really incredible. And why it's done this, I really haven't seen anything definitive on why the North Pacific has warmed up the way it has, all this area up in here. This is not related to El Nino. El Nino is down here, and this is pretty easily explained. When you get a relaxation of the trade winds, you abnormally warm the water. You get these what are called westerly wind bursts, where the trade winds, instead of blowing briskly in, if my mouse will ever work, briskly in this direction, they slow down or even reverse and come from this direction, and you really start to warm this water up through here. Well, I understand that. I don't know why the North Pacific has warmed the way it is. I'm starting to really look into it because that is remarkable how warm that is relative to average. Also, in the Atlantic Basin, you know, a lot of talk was made recently on these August updates for hurricane activity for the rest of the year, on one of the parameters being that the Atlantic was colder than normal. Well, if you're talking about way up here, okay, that's above 40 degrees latitude, but south of 40 degrees latitude, it doesn't take a genius to figure out and see that all of this is also remarkably warm. Now, that's in the subtropics, certainly, but even down here in the deep tropics, off the coast of Africa, and then extending west now, all of this area is slightly to maybe a half a degree Celsius above the long-term average. I mean, you can look at the scale here, 0 to a half a degree Celsius, a half a degree to 1 degree, 1 degree to 1.5 degrees. And I mean, I can look in here and see different gradations. There's a yellow there, so that would be like a half a degree, all this area. And then you have like a little orangish color in here, so that's up to about a degree Celsius maybe. You know, I'm just trying to figure this out. Where's this cold water that we're talking about? And I am looking at the right date. This is the 10th of August, 2015. And I know I'm just being nitpicky, but I'm like, what cold Atlantic, okay? It doesn't look that cold to me, especially when we go back a month. Now, there's a cold Atlantic. That was a month ago, not a few years ago or some other time. This was 1 month ago. Look at all the cold in the deep tropics a month ago, and then now it's gone. Okay, maybe I'm missing something, so we'll see. I will show you something in a minute that is absolutely unequivocal in terms of one of the negatives for hurricanes developing this year. We'll go ahead and get into that. As we see here, tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic Basin. Nothing in the next 48 hours. We'll look at Hilda here in a moment, and here's why. This is a beautiful visible satellite shot of the Atlantic Basin, a good deal of it anyway. And there's some tropical waves sitting over here in the Western Caribbean. Haven't seen anything like that in a while. A little bit of a bending of the intertropical convergent zone down here. Maybe a tropical wave somewhere in this vicinity wouldn't surprise me. Just looking at the visible satellite shot. So you look at this and you say, yeah, look at that. Nice clear air out here. Warm water temperatures. Beautiful tropical paradise. Well, that may be true, but here's the deal. This is the water vapor imagery, and this is why we're not seeing any hurricanes right now. So the water temperatures are warm, but so is the atmosphere. I would say probably between 700 millibars and 400 millibars in the atmosphere. I can't remember off the top of my head the exact feet that we're talking about. I know 850 millibars is about 5,000 feet. So the middle part of the atmosphere, where the weather occurs anyway, is dry. all of this right in here is dryness. I'm going to kind of outline it, fill it in a little bit with this yellow. So all of this in here, I won't call it bone dry, but it is just a huge area of dry sinking air, subsidence, and that is literally drying out these tropical waves when they come off of Africa. It's not allowing the convection to even get going, much less persist, and that's what's killing any hurricane development chances at all right now in this region. Farther to the west, there's probably still some pretty good wind shear out here, although it's relaxed a little bit. But we do have more moisture over on the western side of the basin, but we have a lack of any organized areas of activity, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Now, looking in the eastern Pacific, technically the central Pacific, Hurricane Hilda closing in on Hawaii. We can zoom in just a little bit as well. I'll show you this. Click on it. I think this will work, hopefully. And you see the track taking it south of the Hawaiian island chain. I'll try to zoom back in for you. And it'll probably go a little bit further south than that even. My map is being silly. I think something's wrong with my mouse. I think that's the trouble. I have a defective optical mouse. And anytime I click on this map, the mouse is like clicking multiple times or something. So you know what? Let's just abandon this, and then we'll go to the Hurricane Center track map, because it's just a still image. Sometimes the dynamic images that I can manipulate in real time are subject to error. And this is the beauty of recording this sort of live, right? Come on. Maybe this isn't going to work. There it is. All right. Bear with me as I get my ducks in a row, or forecast points in a row, as it were. So you notice the track going south of the Big Island. I think it'll be a little bit more so than this, because this is going to weaken quicker, and a thinner system in the atmosphere will be tending to steer more to the west in the low-level flow, rather than reaching up higher in the atmosphere and being influenced by larger scale features for steering. Nevertheless, there's quite a bit of moisture that could be headed, especially for the Big Island. And I do have a satellite picture that shows that pretty well. Zoom in a little bit. Still a lot of moisture associated with Hilda, and even if it does track the center south of the islands like this is a lot of moisture headed in here to these eastward facing mountain ranges, etc. So this is going to be an issue. Flooding, a distinct possibility. High surf along the immediate coastline, of course. But do not underestimate the rainfall potential here over the next several days as this closes in, and you get that orographic lift. You know, some of those mountains there have snow on them from time to time because they're so tall, and you can imagine what that'll do when a tropical cyclone comes in. It wrings out that moisture very efficiently, and there could be some flooding issues here, something we'll keep an eye on and discuss in more detail, especially tomorrow. All right? Well, that's pretty much it. Technical difficulties notwithstanding, you are now up to date for what's going on in the tropics. Nothing in the Atlantic. I don't see that changing anytime soon, and we'll see what goes on with Hilda. Again, I think it's a big rain threat for Hawaii, especially the Big Island, and we'll cover that more tomorrow. I'll get some more in-depth graphics from the Central Pacific Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service. In 24 hours, it'll be closer, obviously, and we'll get a better picture of what's going to be happening in Hawaii. All right? Until then, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. We'll talk again tomorrow.